At the beginner and intermediate level, I have often seen one thing. Players will often exchange pieces without putting a lot of thought behind it. In this game, Capablanca's opponent, playing with the black pieces, does the same, but he pays a very heavy price for it. So Capablanca opens the game with knight f3. We have the reti opening on the board. Capablanca is basically controlling the center, and at the same time he's not committing where he's going to put any of these pawns on the first move. Black also plays a non-committal knight f6, not showing where he is going to place his pawns. Now finally Capablanca plays c4, and black also commits his pawn to c5. And after this we have transposed from the reti opening to the English opening. Capablanca strikes in the center with the move d4. Black takes, Capablanca takes, and black goes e5. I don't really like this move because it first of all creates a weak square on d6 and d5. Secondly, if you don't know what you're doing in this position with black, you could end up in huge trouble. If you know the theory, yes, it's fine for you. Maybe you can get away with this. But if you don't know it, you're already in huge trouble. Capablanca puts his knight to b5, eyeing this d6 square. And now black plays bishop to b4 check. And this is the first step in the wrong direction. I would say this is a mistake, but for some reason the engine says that black is still fine after this. But from a human perspective, I don't really like black's position much. Now Capablanca plays the move bishop to d2. And now the best move for black is to put his bishop to c5 and avoid exchanging the bishops. This is what the engine suggests, and it says that black is still somehow fine. But instead of putting this bishop to c5, black played the move bishop into d2 check. There is an exchange to be made. You exchange the piece. But now Capablanca plays queen d2, and already black is very, very close to lost. The material is equal. We have just played 7 moves, and already black is in huge danger here. In this game, you'll soon see why that's the case. So black decides to short castle, and white simply continues his development with knight c3. Now if you notice, there is this weak square here that black cannot defend because he doesn't have a bishop. White has 2 pieces that are looking at this square. So anytime black plays a move like d6, the pawn is going to be chopped off. Black cannot also go d5 because white will simply chop off the pawn. Now that black cannot play d6 or d5, think about this bishop. How is this bishop going to be developed? How is black going to develop the bishop? The only way this bishop can come out is b6 and bishop b7. Okay, so we have already identified what black's plan is in this position. And if we can stop that plan from happening, it's even better. Black plays the move knight to a6. Black wants to get his knight to c5 and come to e4. Capablanca now has to develop his piece. But at the same time, he wants to make sure that this knight doesn't end up on e4 square. What will you play if you were white, if you were Capablanca? Pause the video. You can put it in the comments and let me know. So in the game, instead of developing this bishop with the move e3 and bishop e2, Capablanca plays the move g3. Brilliant move. Black goes knight c5, and now Capablanca plays bishop to g2. Not only is this bishop covering the square, but also it is on this long diagonal, stopping the move b6. Remember, I told you this bishop wants to develop after b6, bishop b7. But now that white has a bishop there, how is this bishop going to come out? It's not possible, right? So after bishop g2, black knew that somehow he has to start pushing back white's pieces. He plays a6. But since there is nobody to guard this d6 square, the knight doesn't have to retreat to a3. It can simply land on d6. This is exactly what Capa plays. Queen a5 played by black, trying to develop his queen, trying to get some counterplay on the queen side. White castles, simple move. Now remember, black wants to develop this bishop. So first he goes rook b8 so that he can push b5, and this bishop doesn't aim at the a8 rook. Capablanca develops his rook, rook fd1, bringing this rook on a semi-open d file, and at the same time he's lending more support to this advanced knight on the d6 square. Black plays the move b5. Black is, starting to create some counterplay on the queen side. Capablanca takes ab5, And now, all of a sudden, Capablanca switches to the other flank with the move queen to g5. The problem for black is his queen is already on the queen side. It's committed on the queen side. It cannot really come back and participate in any defense here. And suddenly, white's queen is staring at this black king. And if white can get one more attacking piece in the game, it's going to be very dangerous to defend against. Black plays the move knight a4. Black is hoping something happens on the queen side. But here is where you will see the power of queen and a knight in action. Capablanca plays knight f5. And this queen and knight combination is so deadly that black is literally getting checkmated or losing lots of material. Because first of all, there is a checkmate threat on this g7 square. Remember, there is no f8 bishop, no dark square bishop. Black had exchanged this bishop here. So suddenly there is nobody to guard this g7 square. If you had the f8 bishop, black could play rook f8, put the bishop here, and this bishop would guard this g7 square. But there's no one to guard it, which means the knight has to drop back to e8. But now Capablanca invades from the other side. Knight h6 check first, draws the king away, and this queen lands on e7. Once again, there is no bishop. Where is that dark squared bishop? Its presence is certainly being felt in black's position here. After the move queen e7, black literally doesn't know what to do with the rook. The king cannot support it. And if the rook goes here, there is just a hilarious smothered checkmate. And black cannot even manage to escape by capturing the knight because queen into f8 is a checkmate. So after the move queen e7, black had to resign in the game, and Capablanca just beautifully exploited the fact that black didn't have a dark squared bishop. There's another game where Capablanca captured black's dark squared bishop in a similar pawn structure, but black had a chance to get back into the game. You can check that game out here.